friends. It's Carly, and welcome to all of us to another episode of the I Learned podcast. I don't know about you, but I am very happy to be here in this moment of getting to settle into my chair and do the thing where I turn the energy into words. And I tell you, it feels like surfing. I've never actually surfed because I lack the physical strength and coordination to do so. But maybe if I practiced enough, I could probably do it. Maybe that's a goal I could have for later. But that's what it feels like on like an emotional level, of like the exhilaration of riding the wave of energy that's moving through me and being totally aware of it, and yet at the same time separate from it, like being the observer of this energy that animates my voice without my conscious mind having to participate at all. It's just it's delightful to experience on the inside, because it's almost like a meditation, because my conscious mind can't think a whole lot and allow this process to happen like all at the same time. So yes, there is something very satisfying about dipping into this space of doing the thing where I turn the energy into words. And my human design chart has been huge, understanding that and being able to read like the specific channels of energy that I'm utilizing in my system. That has been so helpful in one more step of stepping into owning my authentic self. And I think so often when when we feel beat down by life, like anytime we feel like, why me? Like I think we've all been there. That's probably part of the human condition to some extent. But when we're in those moments, we're disempowered. And it is not that we are not powerful, it is our perception of our power. And sometimes things happen in our lives that they lead us to believe that we are without power because we were little and someone hurt us or took advantage of us, or they were physically bigger, and we learned through that experience that physical power is real power, and I don't have that, so I'm powerless. And that obviously is leaving spiritual power out of the picture, and energetic power out of the picture, emotional power. All of these things are there. It's just a matter of, are we willing to see them and stand in them, or are we closing ourselves off in thinking that physical power is the only power that really matters? And it's not wrong for life to lead us to believe something that doesn't serve us, because that's basically happening to all of us. When we get here, we get programmed and conditioned. That's part of the human open sponge-like nature of a child. So all of us get programmed, and then the fun part is deprogramming yourself and like chipping off piece after piece of not self and getting to the core juiciness of like who you really are, who you were born to be. That I gotta think is the fun of life. And if we were supposed to like remember all of that, we would have. Like, we came in as blank slates on purpose because we wanted that first part. We wanted the conditioning. We wanted the pain and the hard experiences, because out of all of that, we learned. We learned and we became, and we have a rooted basis in physical reality for expressing who we really are. And I know for a fact that I couldn't be doing this podcast, for example. I couldn't have come up with this basis of I learned if life wasn't like that for me. It's been like one hard thing to another challenge to another hard thing to this complex situation, and like on and on and on. Life is designed to force evolution. And the first step of evolution is awareness that something could be improved. and something is less than ideal, and that doesn't have to be a huge discomfort to be a slight discomfort, and to provoke that we try harder to be better and live an even better form of existence. I feel like that's something that's inherent in all of us. And all of that to say, I don't see, like, yeah, it's so fun to even get to listen back to these, because I feel like my conscious brain is kind of elsewhere while this is all happening. And so sometimes I'll like just be doing my thing, and then my conscious mind will pay attention, and it almost like kills it, because my conscious mind is like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's what happened just there. What the fuck are you talking about? Because my conscious mind has no idea like where all of this is headed. And if I really let my conscious self, my like my thinking mind, my, I don't know, my egoic self, all of that, if I can just like let that truly step aside and let my soul do what it does, where it turns the emotional energy that I feel in my body into spoken word, like that is basically what my human design chart shows. P.S. I am obviously really into human design lately. If you are too, or you would like to work on unpacking your chart, that is something that I offer. I sell a 4-session package where we work together over Zoom, and we can unpack. I work with natal charts and human design charts and numerology. So it's a matter of looking at all of them and kind of combining bits and bobs of all of them to get a really holistic picture that's helpful in understanding what your superpowers are, where you might be tripping yourself up, and how to learn a coping mechanism for that, and how to rewire, and how to build an even better pattern of behavior. That's as I have these kinds of conversations with my clients, I feel like what I've known for so long is being confirmed, in that this is what I'm here to do. Like having these conversations with people where together we hook them up with their power. That has, nothing to do with me. I see myself as a facilitator of this process. I'm a mirror, and I'm trying to move the mirror around so that you can see all of these different sides of yourself. And I'm not judging anything. I'm just holding the mirror, and together we're talking about it, and we can sculpt. Sculpting energy is what it's all about. That's my daily practice of writing in my journal things that I'm grateful for. That's sculpting my energy. That's leaning my energy in a positive direction. And I now see where we're going with all of this, because this morning, my inner being, my intuition, my ancestors, my guides, my angels, however you like to think about it, my higher intelligence that tells me stuff, or rather that puts thoughts in my head sometimes, led me on a proper treasure hunt this morning, and it was delightful. And so I'm going to tell you about it and share with you what I found, which I have never on this podcast read from my journal on the podcast, but today I'm going to, because it's just so delicious to look at where we are right now compared to this journal entry that resulted from the treasure hunt from June 12th of 2021, so just a few months ago. The treasure hunt was me this morning writing things that I'm grateful for, and fun things that had already happened this morning. It was like already a magical day, and so I'm like just jotting down a few really fun things that have happened today. And after the third one, this idea came that something really magical that happened yesterday was at the grocery store at Cecil K's. We restarted our lunch hot case. So when we very first opened 3.5 years ago, we had a lunch and dinner hot case 7 days a week. And when COVID hit at the beginning of last year, not that we couldn't have run our hot case, but that we didn't have this staff we had older employees working in the deli that when COVID, like panic hit in March, April, basically they just were cutting back their hours to where they didn't have hours anymore. And if you don't have the people, you can't make the food. So it was like that. And that's what shut down the hot case. And we've left it shut down because there wasn't the people to make it happen. And that's been fine because it is what it is. And the store, meanwhile, the store revenue has not only maintained what it was pre-pandemic, which included the hot case business, but it's grown from pre-pandemic, which included the hot case business. And we know that that doesn't include the hot case. And so a few months ago, I got the idea, and this is how the treasure hunt began, because I was like so grateful that yesterday we started the hot case back up, and on day one, it was a complete sellout. Every single container of food that was produced was sold, and that is like, that's just perfect. That's exactly what you want. Zero waste. Oh my goodness! Like every bit of productivity that we produced was converted into dollars in the cash register. That's a business person's dream. No waste. And so because I was like really feeling the gratitude of starting this hot case back up, I was reflecting on how that whole process came to pass. And like I said, I got this idea a few months ago, but it made me wonder, when exactly did I get this idea, and how did it come to be? Like, how did I actually get the idea? What was the little bit before that? Because I remember it happening in my journal. So I knew I could read back about it. So I was going to go back in my journal. So I looked, and I journal a lot, like a lot, like, several pages every day. So finding it in the middle of all, it's like a needle in a haystack. So that gave me, this is where the treasure hunt part kicks in. This was the fun part, is like, so I had to be like a detective and look at my job proposal document that I made and like click into its properties and look at what date did I create that. And that was June 13th. And I knew that it was going to be like right there, either that day or the day before that the original idea had kicked in. And so I go get the journal from that time, from June 12th, 13th, which was out on the shelf, already finished. And I started, just because that's where it felt good to start, I started the day before on June 12th, which happened to be Saturday. And at that time in June of 2021, I was working Saturday and Sunday at the store. I was responsible for those 2 days for the staffing, for managing. I was the person on duty to make sure that things happened the way that they needed to. And then we have a full-time manager for Monday through Friday. And the goal at that point was to eventually transition those 2 days to him as well, which has at this point come to pass. And that's the fun thing about going back to June 12th, 2021, because that was right on the heels of one of the eclipses that happened, like just a couple days before that. I think it was like June 8th, maybe. I could be wrong, but this was like in the wake of that energy, and eclipses are all about change and kind of catapulting us forward on our soul's path. And so when I read through the entry from June 12th, I look at it like, holy freaking crap, I got so many downloads of visions of the future, and literally all of them up to what happened yesterday, now all of them have come to fruition. All of it. And that's why I want to read it, because it is literally a real life demonstration of what's possible, you know? And I've talked many times about journaling every day, and I write gratitude lists, and I do some other stuff, and that's about as specific as I've gotten. And so I think this is such a cool time to give like a practical demonstration. Just read this journal article and give you an idea. Like, this is the kind of entry that I take the time to write every day. And some of it is repetitive, especially at the very beginning. And you'll see how it builds and leads into opening the floodgates of ideas and visions and awarenesses and downloads and new understandings and new clarity and new ideas. And I am telling you, just as a synopsis, that like all the ideas that I'm about to share in this entry have come to pass in the terms of like more than $20,000 flowed forth from the ideas that we're talking about in this entry. And now also this entry at the very end is where I give birth to the idea to, like, the precursor to the restarting the hot case was I want to run the numbers on the bakery deli. I want to see pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. I want to look at profitability. I want to look at expenses. I pulled like a whole spreadsheet worth of data on June 13th because of the idea, or sorry, on June 12th, because of the idea that I got in my journaling session that morning. And because of that data analysis that was prompted, it just sounded like fun. Sounded like so much fun to do this data analysis. And because of it, I uncovered that there is profitability more than we thought in the operating of the hot case. And I put together this proposal and job description for a lunch manager, a full-time position that, so I mean, like, her paycheck is like $1,800 a month, so she absolutely has to show up and like pay for herself in terms of operating the hot case. So like the quota that we're trying to hit is $8,000 a month in revenue off of the hot case sales. And yesterday she had a sellout, and that is just so awesome. She did such a good job. She is so excited. She is like having so much common sense about food and shopping and like maximizing profit margin. She just gets it. Like, it's, oh my God, I'm so excited to see where this goes. But like, it's so satisfying to look back like 3 months ago and see the things that I was like trying to practice having faith. I was seeing these visions of things that were going to come, and I was trying to talk myself into believing in my visions that, like, this is real, this is coming, it's just a matter of time. Like, you can have faith that this is coming. And right now, where there's not really physical evidence, you can trust these visions that you're being shown are previews, like, trust the energy that you're feeling and lean into it. You don't have to be worried. It's okay. It is unfolding. Just trust it and go with it. And that's, I did a really good job of doing that in this June 12th entry. And now to read it from where I'm sitting today, having seen all of the things come to pass, it's just, it's so fun. So I am going to take a moment, and this is the entry in full. I have not edited anything out, and I'm going to read it all the way through to the end, and it's a few pages long. And so keep in mind that, so this was Saturday, and I was working Saturday and Sunday, so I needed to go to the store at some point. And Dolly works at the store, and she's the Saturday opener, so that means I can go a little bit later in the morning, and there's not really a set time. It's staffed without me. And so I would usually go like between 10 and noon, thereabouts. And so this journaling all took place before I went to the store that day. And the reason I journal every morning is to tune my energy, is to like point myself in a positive direction, in an appreciative, grateful, thankful, blessed direction. Just marinate in that energy of my life is so freaking great. And then walk out into the world and watch the universe reflect that energy to me. I've seen it proven in my life so many times. Like, there's yeah, no doubt in my mind that law of attraction is a real thing, and that our energy that we carry in our vessel, in our aura, it attracts the things and people and circumstances that happen to us. And that's great to know, because I, on purpose, every morning try to fill my aura with as much positivity as I possibly can. So this June 12th, 2021 Saturday journal entry is a great example of how I actually do that, like what it actually looks like. So without further ado, this entry starts with gratitude, underlined at the top of the page, and number 1, I woke up again into my beautiful life. Number 2, all my little fur babies. I love how Stella and Scooby put little licks on my legs. Makes me feel so loved and a little heart. Number 3, the beauty of my little patch of land that I get to live on is heartwarming. Number 4, there's a sketch with this one, which is the beauty of doing this freehand on a journal. Number 4, I want my grid empty-ish so I can breathe and move around as I need to. And I've drawn a little diagram. The box that I drew is my grid, and then I only colored in like 15% of the box on one end, trying to dictate or picture, sure, demonstrate, whatever the word, I think you know what I mean. Trying to demonstrate that this is how much activity I want to put in my grid, just very little, and then the rest of it is free space. However, all the blank space, which is like 85%, makes me nervous. My little bit of activity is going to dry up and I'll be totally empty. In the past, that would lead me to overload myself until I couldn't breathe or move. The discomfort of a somewhat vacant grid is a sign of progress. I'm moving into new territory. So much new territory on so many fronts of my life. I am in the early stages on many fronts. I am practicing being 100% satisfied in the slow early stages so I continue to allow the natural unfolding. My intention is not to hurry or force anything. I only want vortex manifestations, not what my humanity wants to force into creation. It's a little wobbly to practice my alignment in the face of wanting something to unfold. My consulting business, my publication company, new territory that is just beginning to take physical shape. But even in my wobbly reaching for something, I'm reminded becoming an entrepreneur was once in that boat. 5 years ago, I was still employed at ISN, wholly focused on my relationship with my partner at the time. That wasn't what I wanted it to be. 5 years ago, being an entrepreneur was just a pipe dream. Hadn't even begun to take root in physical reality. 5 years ago, I hadn't found Abraham yet. In the last 5 years, I've changed my whole life and brought myself to a whole new starting point. That helps shift my nervousness into a more confident place. I've done this before. I've leapt off cliffs before. I've grown into the person capable of meeting my goals before. And then this is like a little quote. Sometimes I write quotes, thoughts that I have that I think are quotable. So, set goals so big they require you to grow into the next level of yourself. And then this is I make a little caret in to indicate when I'm inspired in a brand new direction. So this is one of those that just popped into my head. I'm so grateful for my 401k money I had available to me at the beginning of this year. That money gave me this time to allow what's meant to come to me at this time on my path. I hadn't even remembered that safety net in a couple of months. That money was made and put there between 2011 and 2016. And here I am in 2021, allowing that investment to pay off in my present moment to allow me the breathing room to let my next chapter set its stage and commence, just like Cecil Case did, just like it's happening now. During the eclipse window of accelerating new beginnings and fated events, which would have happened just a few days before, I created and sold my first set of personalized journals. I set up See Who Publications and tracked my first sale. I got verbal acceptance of my first consulting contract, which was worth $3,875. I got verbal acceptance of either all or part of my grocery project or my grocery module project being fully funded. At the time, the full price of that was $27,000. The ending price ended up being around $15,000. I also had my first hiring conversation with my first candidate for my creative assistant, who I later hired and have been working with for the better part of the last few months. I was also invited to by the advisor at a local group to talk to her officers about service and how acts of service really unfold. And my idea was to talk about the Christmas tree decorating contest because that's a really fun example of letting acts of service just unfold organically. And I did deliver that speech about a week later. I also got an email from my friend, and she was upset with me about the rest period that I was taking, and my lack of communication with her. And I stood in my truth to give her a heartfelt response instead of ghosting her, which is new behavior. a new inspired direction of thought. This is the second time I've gotten a flash of a vision of reviving my idea walls with my grocery module project. And that that sentence doesn't really make sense to me. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm talking about. Like it says reviving my idea walls with my grocery module project and now all the DBAs of C9C LLC. I'm like, I don't know what that means. It makes me excited to move back in there to my office, set up my dual monitors with my new desk chair and my beautiful lamps and lighting. I'm super excited to clean up my office and start using it again. I built it for myself last summer and am beyond grateful that it's just sitting there ready to use. I'm so glad I followed my gut and went ahead and built my office instead of waiting for the project that I discussed with Ryan to come to fruition. That project never came to fruition, but I built my office and I lived in it long enough to establish my idea walls and my obsession with plants. Yes, I've spent the last 2.5 months hanging out in my bed, so it feels like a fresh start going back to the office. I'm thinking Monday would be a good day for cleaning up the place and freshening it up. Today and tomorrow, I get to go to Cecil K's to work. I really do enjoy being there when Mama is there, literally my mama. She helps in our bakery deli, and the high school girls and Dolly. It's a great feeling environment and fun to be a part of. Also, tomorrow I'm planning to leave by 3 and see if Ashlyn gets along okay. It's time to let her try her hand as closing manager. It's fun to conduct our productive team and leave the store in better shape than we found it. New inspired direction makes me want to run some numbers on bakery deli performance over the last year. And then I drew a little chart about, apparently I understood somehow, because I don't understand the chart and what it says now. But I know the point was that I can tell that our profitability is increasing, and I want to run some numbers on the bakery deli performance over the last year. And so I got that idea just as a result of being grateful for the store and, conducting the team and leaving the store in a better shape than we found it. And then I get this idea to pull these numbers going on. I'm feeling super tuned in. Here's another idea, new inspired idea. Idea for Wednesday night to stay in Kansas City for my birthday. And that's a really funny story, which we don't really need to go into, but that ended up being a really fun trip. I love my life and where I am on my path. My 33rd birthday is a week from today. I love everything about where I'm at as I turn 33. I poked around looking at spending a couple days in Kansas City, hotel, kayak rental. I'm really thinking I want to go. I'm so excited about my life right now. This is at the end of the day. Today was a great day. Walmart's coolers were out, all cold stuff unavailable, so we were busy. Everything is always working out for me. I trust that my highest good is unfolding every step of the way, and that's why I trust the universe to click the right pieces into place. Perfect place, perfect people, perfect time. Everything is always working out for me. New inspired idea. Just like I set up my consulting business last fall because of a project that didn't come to fruition, I may have set up my publishing company for the journals I did the first time, but that doesn't even matter since the foundation was just to establish my publishing company. That seed will yield fruit someday. I know that. Technically, it already has. The reach of my business, everything is always working out for me. The reach of my social media, perfect place, perfect time. The acceptance of my soul's work, my highest good is always unfolding. I am held in the eternal well-being of my ancestors' energy. We have conspired as souls and my life is perfectly on track. I am held and protected and nurtured on a soul level by my spirit family. They beam me with pride as I live my day-to-day. They literally couldn't be more pleased. The basis of my stability and well-being is my connection to the infinite universe. The greater good of all that is unfolding through me. I am a vessel for the will of my soul family. I work in cooperation with the universe. All is completely held and known by the universe. I trust that well-being abounds. This is the best my life has ever been. Be yourself so people can find you. Shine bright. I love the smell of radical self acceptance in the morning. 2021, the year of speaking truth. New inspired direction. I can feel my sojourn with my journals in a cabin in the middle of nowhere is soon, like the next year or two, sooner than I thought. I'm really looking forward to that. I've felt that journey for a long time. I can sense my vibrational reality, and there are beautiful things unfolding for me. My life transforms every day as I reach for the best feeling thought I can find. I rest as often as I feel like. I rest so I can enjoy my enjoyable moments and even the not so enjoyable, but still somehow enjoyable moments. I rest so I can day by day manifest the life my higher self has intended. I seek alignment in every opportunity. And that's the end of June 21st. So the next day, I used the results of my data analysis and the profitability that I found to construct a budget to be able to hire a full-time employee that the store didn't currently have, to basically create a new position. I wrote the job description. I made a financial projection of kind of what the numbers might look like. I created an incentive structure so that if the person performed really well, meaning they got revenue, exceeding 8,500, that they would start to earn incentives for the height of the sales that they were able to generate. It felt so freaking good to create all of that. And here we are a little over 3 months later, and she started, her first day was yesterday, and she kicked ass. She kicked ass. And it looks like she's going to kick ass. And it just makes me so happy that a little over 3 months ago, I took the time to journal before work and spent the time to journal several pages before I got the idea to write about how grateful I am for Cecil K's and how fun it really is to get to go there and work with the people. And because of that fun, that energy that I had found around Cecil K's, there's this idea that, it would be fun to run some numbers, do some data analysis, see if there's any truth to this little graph picture that's being shown to me here. And was there ever? It looks like it's going to be a very successful unfolding. And in the treasure hunt of going back to look for what was the day that I had that idea, I found this whole entry that is full of, it also was me getting the idea to go to Kansas City for my birthday. And that trip I took Dolly, and it was so much fun. The whole thing, except for when I fell down and got very snarly very quickly. I've told that story before. Anywho, so many ideas and realizations, and fanning the flames of tiny little baby momentum of me getting flashes of this idea that I'm going to revive my idea walls, and I can see myself doing my grocery module training project on my idea walls, and I can see it up there. And at the time, it didn't exist. I was still riding my bed for 2.5 months. I mean, I said in the entry that I think Monday might be a good day. I spent another 3 weeks in my bed after that entry was written, which is just hilarious, because that just goes to show it really doesn't matter what you do. It's a matter of tuning into the energy, which that entry is an example of a lot of those ideas that, I'm held and supported by the universe. I write that all the time. So much of that isn't new, but it's not about having a brand new profound thought to put in the journal entry. It's about tuning your energy and taking the time to write anything that helps you to feel good. And if it feels good to think that the universe is holding you and lining up the next step in your path all the time, then write it down. If it feels good to know that your ancestors are all around you, whether, even when they're past, especially when they're past, they are just with you. They are with you. They are helping to guide you. They're helping to protect you. They are keeping you safe and holding you because their entire existence was to put you forward. Like, wow, write it down, write it down, write it down every day if it feels good. So repetition is not a bad thing. And like that very top item on my gratitude list was, I woke up into my beautiful life. I write that at the top of my gratitude list a lot. A lot of the days start there, starting general with a very general thought of, it feels really good to take a deep breath. I write that on my gratitude list often. Starting in those general places and just kind of getting the ball rolling in those really general, easy places. And it naturally goes forward and forward and forward until bam, poof, like here's an idea landing in your brain that it would be fun to do some analysis on the profitability of the bakery deli department of Cecil K's. Like, okay, I'll take that bait. I'll do that. I'll take your assignment. I'll pull those numbers, and I did. And holy shit, yeah, we were making some decent profit on that back in the day. And it was news to all of us. So it all of a sudden was like so clear, and the path was so clear. And so I write the job description, and then we put it out there, and it was, I think I published it right at the beginning of July, as far as like putting the job posting out there, opening it up for other people. And we got one applicant that week. And then about 7 or 8 weeks later, we got a second applicant, and she's the one that started yesterday. So it took a few weeks to move her through the interview process because it was extensive. Because this person is like front and center making lunch for the town every day. So that's we need to make sure that we find the right fit. And I knew going into it from, writing the job description June 13th, over 3 months ago, I knew that this is going to be an energetic creation. I want a vortex manifestation here. Like, I need to pre-pave, who is this person? What is their energy? What are the skills that they bring to the table naturally with them? And I seriously feel like we found that person. Like, I just knew when I wrote the job description, I'm like, this person is out there. This person will find us because they exist and they are ready and we are ready and it will happen. And it happened. So it feels nice to remember that myself, because isn't life always just kind of in that space, at least somewhat, in terms of there are manifestations that are barely poking out of the ground, if not like that seed hasn't poked out of the ground yet. So you're still practicing faith that it will sprout, it will grow into something that you want it to grow into. The ability to talk ourselves into believing that we are on the right path, that we're doing our best, that we're doing the right thing, we're doing what we should be doing. Soothing ourselves along that journey is literally, as far as I can tell, like 95% of the work, and then in and amongst that soothing, these ideas just like pop in of, yeah, you should do a full data analysis of the profitability of the bakery deli department. Yeah, do that. And that's just like the funnest thing I could ever think of. It took me like 10 hours to pull those numbers and analyze them and put it all together in a nifty little spreadsheet so other people could look at one graph and go, oh yeah, totally, let's do this. So, it was a joyful expenditure of 10 hours. And because of that joyful expenditure, we now have, on target to hit $8,000 a month extra in revenue at that business, and that's revenue, right? That includes all the expenses. Like, her paycheck's $1,800 a month. So that's a big chunk of the $8,000 a month that we hope she brings in. And then the rest, like, we got to pay for the food, we got to pay for the electricity, for the hotcakes, all of that. So the profit margin is, somewhere in there, but it's still more people in our business, more people coming to see us every day, more people bonding with us, more people being fed by us in the community. Like, that has been our vision this whole time. And yesterday it came to fruition in like a really real way. And so much went in to yesterday, right? Like yesterday was a really satisfying day, but the day over 3 months ago where I sat there and crafted this idea, where I was just milking my gratitude and appreciating my life, and all of a sudden this random idea pops into my mind to do the data analysis on the profitability of the bakery deli. Um, yeah, I didn't make that up. I didn't come up with that idea out of nowhere, out of thin air. Somebody put that in my brain and pointed me in this whole brand new direction. And the only reason my brain was open so that they could put that profitable idea front and center in my awareness, where I spent 10 hours that day doing that. Like, I didn't plan that. I had other stuff that I was gonna do, but I didn't do that stuff. I did this instead because I couldn't not do it. And I'm so glad, especially after seeing how well yesterday went. Like, oh my goodness, we are hitting a home run here. I can just feel it. And it's so exciting. And it's such a good analogy for like everything, for creation in general, in terms of how it works. Like, you get the positive energy flowing just for the sake of feeling good, just for the sake of flowing positive feeling energy. And then you open your valve and let all of these different ideas drop in. Because that day that I, wanted to do the analysis on Bakery Deli, I also got the idea to go to Kansas City for my birthday, and that was amazing. I got visions of my grocery training module project being accepted, which it eventually was. And that was a reassurance. That felt so good to see, and it hadn't happened yet, but I'm seeing it happen. And I'm pretty positive that means that it's coming. I think these visions are glimpses of the vortex of what's coming. So I'm going to trust it. I'm going to take it as a really good sign that they're probably going to accept my project. And they did. So it's just, I feel like this is such a fun state of just giving thanks for those slow, early stages of creation. The coming up with the idea stage, the blank slate part. Like I said at the beginning of that gratitude list, I want my slate to be empty-ish. I want my grid to be free and clear and full of open space where these kinds of ideas can land. I don't want to have myself so burdened and so preoccupied with all of these projects that I'm trying to juggle so that I can't ever get an idea to be creative. I need to be creative. So I've opted to structure my life such that really my scheduled time week to week, here, let me do some quick mental math. I got a couple hours on Monday. Once a month, I got a couple hours on Tuesday. Every week, I have about half hour on Wednesday. And then another hour on Thursday. So, I'm going to say I got about 4 hours a week of scheduled responsibilities that I need to show up to. And the rest of the time is open. It's blank slate. And a lot of what I do is journal. I tune my energy. I on purpose spend time focusing myself into, I'm grateful for this, and I'm appreciating this, and I love it that this happened, and I'm loving this person because of this. And I just focus myself into that good feeling energy because it feels good. And these are the kinds of ideas that come through that maybe on the surface seemingly unproductive activity. What is she really doing? Like writing these endless gratitude lists, like, yeah, I get it. Be grateful. Okay, so what's next? What else do I do? No, just be grateful. That's all you got to do. And then the ideas, they flow. The gratitude is like the lubricant that opens the process and lets the energy flow. And once the energy is flowing, everything will come together. Everything gets woven together and takes care of itself. And yeah, spending that time in gratitude is quite a gift that I give to myself every morning. And so many days it has paid off. June 12th was by no means a radical experience of having a new idea that ended up paying off for me. Like, on the wings of that gratitude that I sow every morning is a new idea and a new idea and a new idea. And I continue to plant those. I do those projects, I follow that inspiration, I publish those new ideas, I make episodes, I write content, I create journals, I on and on and on. I do what my inspiration tells me, and it continues to work out really well. And how I hear my inspiration is to open the door through gratitude. So I hope that this has been helpful. I know for me, it has been immensely helpful and joyful to get to marinate in this energy of just witnessing my own creation process through time and remembering for the things that I'm working on creating now. It's so helpful to look back at, you know, what I'm manifesting right now in my physical. I was working on creating that 3 months ago. Not that it has to take that long by any means, but like that was the unfolding of what happened, and it led to yesterday. And these things that I'm creating now that are in the early stages, they will lead to their physical manifestations. So it puts me at a greater level of ease to remember that, and to not be so hard on myself when I'm not always where I want to be. You know, there's always things we can improve. There's always new growth and, you know, behaviors we'd like to rework and patterns that don't work for us as well as we wish they did. And we want to sculpt those into a new place. And the better we get, I always say, like, the more answers we find, the more questions it generates. And then we find new answers, and then that generates new questions. And it's like that. Like, we're always going to be somewhere on that spectrum. And all we can ever really do is tune ourselves in the most positive direction we possibly can. That gives ourselves the most loving chance of having a gentle ride through our day. And aside from that, it also gives us the strength and resilience and remind ourselves on a daily basis that we are connected to something bigger than just us. We are never facing any moment of our life alone. It's always a matter of us plus our spiritual support system. And we can draw on that power as often as we let ourselves. And that's where I try to practice drawing on that power, maybe not every day, but pretty often. Thanking them, asking them questions, whatever is inspired, you know? Like, did you see how many times, like, there was an inspired new direction? You know, it's not coherent. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. It just has to be my brain reaching for the best feeling thought I can come up with in any given moment. And often I end one story, maybe not even to completion of that story, because I'm going to jump down to this idea because, oh my goodness, it feels so good. That's like the point of journaling, not to make a coherent story. The point of journaling is tuning your vibration, tuning yourself into the best possible feeling you can reach for. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. And I look forward to the next time I'm inspired to share with you. Until that next time, dear friends, you take really, really good